question is that the bill be now read a second time. Mr. Christopher de Souza.
Sir, the Singapore Civil Defence Force plays an important role in Singapore's total defence. This bill plays an important role in enhancing the support the civil defence and other home team departments need in their dedicated service to Singapore. The first main feature of this bill is that it strengthens human resource capacity by allowing SCDF NS men to voluntarily extend their service beyond what is required. Similar possibilities exist through the NS Volunteer Scheme and the Voluntary Extension of Service for Police National Servicemen Scheme in the SAF and the SPF. This will help advance SCDF's 2025 vision of building a nation of lifesavers. Being prepared to save lives would allow for prompter responses to life-threatening incidents and a more robust and resilient response in the event of a national crisis. Would the Minister therefore elaborate on the rationale of the vision and the initiatives that SCDF has undertaken towards partnering the community to collectively work towards that vision? The second major feature of this bill is supporting day-to-day operations of the officers. The bill expands the scope of the SCDF's functions to go beyond firefighting, so as to provide statutory-based powers needed for their day-to-day life-saving duties which do not involve firefighting. Historically, these duties were performed separately by the Singapore Civil Defence Force and the Singapore Fire Service. However, in 1989, they merged to form Singapore Joint Civil Defence Forces and soon after became known as Singapore Civil Defence Force. The SCDF's twin objectives of fighting fires and saving lives can be seen in the fire medical vehicle commissioned in 2017. This vehicle is a hybrid between the Red Rhino and an ambulance, supporting both objectives of firefighting and saving lives. In recognizing that life-saving work is important and a core part of what SCDF does, this bill provides a statutory basis for the powers that need to be exercised in day-to-day operations to save lives, for example, by breaking open a door. There are two additional powers provided by the bill. The first is Clause 20, which involves access to install and maintain emergency devices which act as a public warning device or to monitor or detect a civil defence emergency. Clause 20 in particular prevents the acts of an individual from compromising the safety of many through refusing to cooperate in the installation or maintenance of the device or even tampering with it. This is important. Why? Because having a functional and effective public warning system is critical for a strong, robust emergency response. In Palu, Indonesia, the earthquake destroyed the mobile phone network infrastructure, which made it impossible to use that mode of communication to disseminate information. Having a warning system in place can make the difference between the life and death of many, many people, but only if it is understood, only if vigilance is exercised in detecting the situation and sounding the alert. As such, would the Minister elaborate on how our systems have been updated and upgraded to detect emergencies, possibly taking in new warning signs? Would the Minister also elaborate how the community is engaged in emergency detection and preparedness? A further additional power is the ability to take biometric identification factors to identify an unconscious person or one who is unable to communicate for medical intervention. As the Minister alluded in her speech earlier, this is a useful and pragmatic improvement, as it would allow for a prompter and more accurate diagnosis, as medical history may reveal important information such as possible complications and known allergies. In this way, the value of a person's life necessitates that the practical impossibility of obtaining consent from an unconscious person will not bar more targeted help from being rendered to save that person's life. SCDF officers will thus be able to render medical assistance more effectively and efficiently. Singaporeans will benefit. The third feature of the bill is that it prevents impersonation and unauthorized use of the insignias of the SCDF, immigration and prisons officers. This prohibition supports the officers' work by ensuring that the trust that the public has in these services is not misused or diluted by an impersonator. Immigration officers keep our borders safe. Prison officers follow through in implementing incarceration sentences and, where necessary, rehabilitation. SCDF officers command evacuations, douse fires, and save lives. Therefore, impersonators should not be allowed to dilute their cause or effectiveness or the trust instilled in our officers. Indeed, trust has been hard-earned. The Public Perception Survey of 2016 showed that, I quote, "The overall public confidence with SCDF being capable to cope with emergencies reached a high at 99%, unquote. Well done to our SCDF and Home Team officers. Sir, this bill gives SCDF NS-men the opportunity to continue serving the nation in this unique capacity, using the skills, training and experience they have built and honed over the years. Having been instilled with a duty to save lives, SCDF NS-men will be able to formally and regularly advance the mission of saving lives through better powers and a more robust legal framework for the environment and the theatre within which they operate. Therefore, sir, I support the bill.